Good morning. What's up, guys? How we doing? Hope you're all having a good morning here so far. Let's jump right in. Market is attempting here a small little breakout. If we look at the daily chart, though, it's not all that crazy. Small little daily bar. It's just going to show the New York session here so far. So, same plan as yesterday. Gonna put my head down. Gonna do some scalping. See what we can come out with here today. Good morning, guys. How we doing? Penny's Brandon. Good morning. What's up, guys? All right, we just got to roll over here. This is a 5-minute chart that you're currently looking at. We have shrinking bull bodies, so I got to wait to see how this bar here manages itself. Though I got to tell you, based on the way the market's been attempting moves the last couple of days, I'm not against getting long on a move like this, with the understanding that it's highly probable that at some point here, we're probably going to enter a little bit of a sideways trading range before then deciding, hey, second leg or back into the range. But got to show what's in front of us here. And right now, what's in front of us is a hell of an upside move. Of course, it's not massive, but, you know, it's bigger than what we've been seeing lately. I mean, from just before the open. Well, yeah, just before the open. We're looking at about 120 points so far, so that's good to see. ATR, by the way, currently at 26. That'll likely creep up here as the morning goes on. At least that's been the trend as of late, is ATR tends to start creeping up closer to like 10 o'clock, which is a little bit bizarre, but that's what we've been seeing lately. At least a little bit, not a ton. Rick, Trading Chris, what's up, guys? Outlaw Terry, Marshall, good morning. All right, we have 3 minutes left here on this 5-minute bar. 2-minute chart looks pretty much just as clean as the 5-minute, by the way. 2-minute top right, 5-minute top left. Actually kind of similar today, which is not always the case. For now, I'm going to trade off the 5-minute, and we'll see if we can put something together. Scrumptious, Carlos, Mia, what's up, guys? How we doing? All right, halfway through now, this 5-minute bar looks clean. If we get a clean close near the high, I'm going to have to slap on a rollover buy, assuming it stays reasonably sized. Obviously, I don't want to see this bar all of a sudden turn into a 65-point bar. Christian took some advice from Trading Chris's comment yesterday. We like Trading Chris, and rewatched some of your videos. Makes such a difference the amount I actually understand now compared to when I first watched them. Christian, elaborate. What were you confused on? That could help me. That could actually help me a lot. Because I know, listen, I know I don't like to talk over people's heads. I don't like to say things that the masses can't just like understand, but there's a certain nuance to trading that's important to understand. So I think sometimes when I talk, it seems basic to me, but I've been doing this for kind of a long time now, and I think I need help sometimes when something isn't so basic. If I'm going on one of my rants and you guys are lost as hell, tell me, and that would actually be very helpful. Like when I say market context, I know a lot of you guys know what I mean, but I also know that there's a lot of you guys in the shadows who are like, I have no idea what the fuck this guy's talking about. Chris, good morning. Joe, what's up, buddy? How we doing? We got 43 seconds until the close here. This 5-minute bar. Bulls, do not wick this back now, man. Again, clean close here. We'll pop on a rollover buy. Again, top left is the 5-minute chart for a scalp. All right, let's see what we get. And I will get long there, and I'm going to risk the bar before the signal bar curl. Show you here. Right, there we go. That's how I'm sitting. Again, just scout mentality here. Risk is not massive, less than 30 points. Just breaking the ice, see what we can get. Christian says, I took a lot of the marquee context that you've been talking about on stream and then applied it to the first $10,000 vid. Yes, very important video. If you don't understand trading, that video can launch things for you, I really think. That's all it is. It's just the math. Alright, let's see if we get a bit of a better pop. I'd like to see this push up through 770 if we can. Fingers on the hotkeys, just ready to rock. If anything happens here, I'll drive manually. I have that order up top. That's not necessarily where I needed to go to take profit, by the way. What I like to do when I'm scalping a lot, you guys see, sometimes I'll do it this way. Oh, hang on. Sometimes I'll click and drag. Other times I will just use hotkeys and leave the order out high. And the reason I do that, by the way, is because if we get news and a huge move, which happens on NQ often, I want to leave myself exposed to that, so that order will beat my, brain telling my finger to take it off, and I get a lot more points. So I like to leave myself exposed with that order and then still drive manually. Something that you guys need to be careful about, though, if you're using hotkeys with orders out. This has actually happened to me, I think, once or twice. If you get a really, really aggressive pop, you got to be really careful hitting a hotkey right ahead of a sell order like this. What can happen, and this has happened to me before, is it hits your sell order as you're pressing the hotkey, and my hotkey, the sell hotkey, is also good for opening positions, which that's a setting in NinjaTrader here. I believe it. I don't know if you can set it both ways like you can in a broker like Lightspeed, but this can close current positions and open new positions. So what can happen is you pop up through, it sells with the limit order, and then I hit the hotkey at the same time and it opens me short, which is obviously what I would not be trying to do in that case. So just be careful about that, but I do think it's a decent way to manage trades, at least scalps. Yeah, a bit of a shrinking bull bar. We already had one of those in the sequence. Not ideal, not the best thing to see, but it's alright. Yeah, Joe, yesterday, man, not my best performance. But, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, when you're dealing with a 60% probability, 55 to 70, really, in almost every case. Again, assuming one-to-one reward to risk and then adjust the math to equal the same edge if you're doing negative reward to risk or bigger reward to risk. You know, sometimes with a weighted coin flip like that, you know, you're going to have, and this goes for all you guys, you're going to lose 2, 3, 4. You're going to lose 6, 7 in a row sometimes. It's part of the game. So yesterday, you know, my funded accounts, I finished red, man. Not a great day. But in the afternoon, I came back. I think I took a couple of trades in the fundeds. It was whatever. I didn't give back any more, but I definitely didn't finish green. And I traded a few evals, knocked a couple evals out, and that was it. Walked away. But, you know, the last 3 days collectively, still pretty damn good. And, you know, I think the more important thing of you guys just seeing me lose, because I don't care. But the helpful thing, I think, is, you know, you guys, if you lose, you know, 5 scalps in a row, it doesn't mean you suck. It means that the weighted coin flip that's weighted in favor of tails happened to land on heads, which has, you know, a 40% probability of happening 5 times in a row, for example. It's gonna happen, man. It sucks when it happens, I'm not gonna lie to you. It does suck, but long losing streaks are not fun. But like you guys, this has actually been a very streaky last 3 or 4 trading days if you include today. Yesterday, we lost 3 in a row on stream, 3 scalps in a row. Obviously not fun. Before that, I was on a 12 trade win streak. I mean, this is the kind of shit that happens and it messes with your head. Part of what makes trading so hard. But, you know, part of the game. So when that happens to you, don't let it get in your head too much. And I get it, easier said than done. But the more it happens to you, the better off you'll be. It's just, all this comes back to just more screen time. Which all comes back to trade small, so that you can take more trades and put in more screen time without, you know, losing too much while you are still losing. Still looking to see if we can get this thing through at least 770. You know, I really love to see like 780, but mid 770s would be cool. We get a push. Alright, test to 770. Not that it's such a crucial level, by the way, just using it as a landmark sort of thing. Trading Chris, currently on a 6-trade winning streak. It's gonna happen a lot, man. And somehow my anxiety is peaking. Yeah, very interesting to see. Yeah, so... Hang on, here I got like 20 things going on at once. If this pops through 770 hard, I'm gonna want to pull this, so... I'll talk while I look. You know, I get it. I get it. You don't want to mess up the streak. It's really fun to be on a winning streak, but the longer the winning streak goes on, let's not lie to ourselves, the more likely you are to have a little bit more anxiety when you hit the buy button or the sell button to enter a trade. That's a problem. It's a psychology thing. It's a psychology trick. If you have to play whatever trick you can on yourself, do it. But in reality, I think the best thing to help yourself not get, you know, kind of like trip over the streak, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. If you keep yourself low on the winning streaks, you can keep yourself a little higher on the losing streaks, if that makes sense. And, you know, honestly, if you have an edge, usually in most cases, here we go. Yeah, pull that there. Partial fill. What's going on? There we go. All right, we're out. Jesus. I think that was a copy. What just happened? I gotta look back at the footage, man. That was weird. I think that was a copy trader thing. Well, not kind of, yeah, I wouldn't say that was so scary because I got, I think, 2 con. No, I'm sorry. That's only 1. This is the leader account. I trade 1 in the leader. I don't know what just happened, to be honest with you. That might have just been a lag. But we're good. We're out. And there you go. That's what happened there. So, I say partial fill. That actually wasn't correct because I did get a partial fill on the copy trader across all the accounts, but in reality, what you guys see on this screen, you're seeing me execute with the leader account, which again, as you guys know, hey, maybe if you're new here, you don't know this, but when I'm copy trading all these accounts, what I like to do is I take one Apex account and I just sacrifice it and I trade a single micro in that, you know, and eventually you actually get a payout out of it. It takes longer than it really should, but I sacrifice one funded Apex account as kind of the, well, as I suppose the leader, and I trade 1 micro in it, and that is the execution screen that you see here. The reason I do that is so on my copy trader, when I'm running a bunch of accounts, I can ratio it easily without having to think. So if I were trading, you know, 3 on, or 4 or whatever on the leader, not only would it make this more confusing because it would make it look like I'm trading that exact number, which maybe it's just equally as confusing with the number 1 on the screen, whatever. But more importantly for me, when I ratio the size across the copy trader, I can just ratio it off of 1. And for me, I think that's worth it because one little mishap, like if I came in one day and I'm trading 4 micros, let's say, or 3 micros on the leader, and all of a sudden I have, you know, one of my accounts set to 5x, instead of trading 5 micros, now I'm trading 15, you know, and that could be a costly mistake if I'm just not thinking. So, I don't know, that's why I rock it the way I did. All that to say, I have no idea what just happened. I think that was just a glitch in Ninja. Gabri, I had the same thing happen on Ninja. Okay, that's good to hear. That might have been a Ninja glitch. Just kind of a slow execution. That's fine. I don't like when things don't work just perfectly because I don't even want to say it out loud, but having an error when you're copy trading a bunch of accounts is not fun. Yeah, that was a high-a-day pop. Of course, I realize that. I'm more talking about the lag on the execution. I'm not talking about the market move, by the way, if that's what you think I'm talking about. The lag on the execution was a little bit. Usually, it's cleared immediately. I'm a guy who's very used to basically instantaneous executions. You know, you look at like Centerpoint, Securities Broker, Lightspeed Broker. I don't like lag. I don't like, think or swim, very slow on the executions. Robinhood, man, very slow on the executions. In this big of a money industry, shit should just work, right? I mean, that's my expectation. It should just work and it should be fast. Baffles me how slow some of these big name brokers execute orders. Gross. Okay, we have 4 minutes and 25 seconds left here on this 5-minute candle. Let's see. I mean, this trend, man, this is certainly an intraday trend. Again, the daily chart, though, you look here, this is today's bar for the New York session. It's not massive at all. So I would call this still, I'm not going to call this a trend market, but it's more of a range market with an intraday trend. In that scenario, I'd like to scalp in the direction of the trend. In a intraday trend, in a trend market, then I like to swing in the direction of the trend. Context, right? Neil, have you considered just using a sim account as the leader in NinjaTrader? It works well for me using Replicanto. Yeah, you know what, Neil? I have done that before. I think I was actually doing that for maybe a month or two back a few months ago. I don't know. I guess I just switched to a funded, so it was easier to understand what I was doing. Plus, you know what I think it was? Someone in the chat. I've heard conflicting arguments. Somebody said that the copy trading is actually slightly faster. They ran a test using the sim environment as the leader, and it was slightly faster. And then I had someone else come in and say, no, they ran the same test, and it's actually a lot faster with the fundeds. So I was like, you know what? Let's just throw the sim away, take one of these fundeds, sacrifice it, and just keep it consistent. But yes, I have nothing against using the sim as the leader if you want. For me, I'm using a funded Apex as the leader. All right, so we're up $2,900 to start the day here. We got 2 minutes, 15 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. David, what are your thoughts on ICT? Man, a lot of people seem to have found success with it. I don't know enough about the strategies to comment on it, but I'll tell you this. You will never catch me with another man's name in my mouth in a negative way, ever. That's not me, man. But it seems like a lot of people are making money. Who cares? I mean that in a good way, by the way. Like, who cares? Why pay so much attention to it, people? If you're making money, man, you're making money. If you're not, then use something else. All right, 60 seconds out from the close here of this 5-minute bar. Let's see what we get as far as a close. Nice clean bull bar closing at its high. Ideally growing a little bit from where this currently sits, and I'll have to buy the rollover again. Yeah, you know what, Joe? Joe says, I always think a pullback is coming. It might be small, but it's coming. I've gotten into a lot of trouble. Like I should say, I got into a lot of trouble in the early years thinking that way. That's human nature. You think this thing's pulling away hard. There's no way it continues going. Especially on futures, man. Just trade the price action and forget what seems reasonable. As long as you understand market context and everything that's going on. Okay, 3 seconds. Let's see. It's kind of a small bull bar. I'm gonna give this 15 seconds. I'm going to get long, and I'm going to risk not all that much. I'm going to risk the same as before. We'll do there. Expand that a little bit. And see if we can get a bit of a pop. Again, kind of a shrinking bull bar. But I'd like to partake in this little move here if I can. Yet again. You know, by the way, question for you guys. I could ask Joel, but I'm here, so I'll ask you guys. Has anybody found a way to run preset groups on the Affordable Indicators copy trader? What I really would like to do is have a drop down where I can say, you know, swing group, scalp group, or just group 1, group 2, group 3, and click it, and it puts all the accounts into the active copy trader at the ratios I want, uses the account I want as the leader. Because as I continue to scale, I might start trading these in 2 groups. But it's almost more pain than it's actually worth having to do it manually. So if anyone knows how to do that, I would appreciate you letting me know. I don't think there's a way. I've looked. All right, let's see if we get a bit harder of a push. I'd like to see a push up toward a 20 or so. Got a minute 55 left here on this 5-minute bar. What's up, Jacob? Good to have you, brother. You know, there's a lot of ways to trade. I don't know if it's, I don't think it's, you know, just speaking my truth now. I don't like to say that anyone's just, you know, gambling unless I've really dug into their back-end data and understand their psychology. There's a lot of ways to do this. And some ways, if you know, look at it without understanding what they're really doing, it might look like they're gambling. But I hate when people just, that phrase gets thrown around a lot, and I use it too sometimes because there is a very fine line between trading and gambling. But you know what? There's also a lot of ways to do this. So I hate that label so much because in real life, everyone just thinks that all day traders are just degenerate gamblers. At least post 2021. Before that, it was a little different. All right, little doji there. Yeah, again, I still want to see a push up toward 820 to pull this. Bit of a pullback here. Break even on the trade. Bit of a push. Get to there. Yeah. Still looking to get that push up toward 820-ish. We got a pretty quick pop up to 817, pulled back. Wasn't quite enough for me. Want to know one of the least talked about annoying things about being a scalper? Maybe this is just me. I know a lot of you guys who work out probably feel this way, but you know when you're sitting here with your fingers, and maybe my desk is a little high, I don't know. When you're sitting here with your fingers on the hotkeys for 15 minutes straight, so you start kind of cramping up in the wrists, shoulders, traps. It's a pain in the ass. But hey, we're not out doing construction in the sun, so we can't complain. Still looking for that pop up toward 820, man. Good Lord. News? No headlines yet. Yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut it. It changed. All right, so we were up 2,900 bucks. I just gave back 750. So we're up. I don't like this setup change. The bear bar closed near its low, and I'm scalping. Okay, so I'll manage things on the fly every once in a while. The setup is just, I'm sitting here thinking about it. It's just too different from when I entered. So let's move on here. This is the P&L currently. That was a loser. Lost 750 on that. The first trade we made 2,900. And there's the headline. Just came through. It says Vietnam will pay US a 20% tariff on any and all goods sent into our territory. That was a Truth Social post. So, you know what? This is one of the more nuanced things of trading. If something changes, there's, again, really fine line between making decisions based out of emotion and making decisions based on what you're seeing changing. For me, it takes some time to think through every single option that I could see. I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, you know, this is a nice bear bar closing near its low below both of these wicks. I don't like that. I'm sitting here thinking about this though, but that's kind of an aggressive trend line. I know the bulls are watching that, so a bounce here wouldn't be so surprising. But even if we do get that bounce, now what's the reason to continue up through, you know, 820, 825, 830 like I was looking for? There's not a ton of reason, and this is a scalp. Pull it early. So that's what I got to do. We'll move on. We'll see if it would have worked. I don't really care, though, to be honest with you. All right. Kings, how long is the deal good for? So, from what I've seen, from what I've been let in the know about, it's primarily a 4th of July deal. Exactly when are they ending it? I'm not sure. This is the 40% off, no activation fee deal at Take Profit. And you know how these props operate, right? I mean, sometimes if it's working well, they'll extend things. If you're really dead set on getting the 40%, with code BIG, of course, I'm not sure I'd wait, because they might go right back to 30. Okay, we got 23 seconds left here on this bar. Let's see how this bar ends up closing. Though I gotta tell you, again, another thought that I don't think I explained. With this bear bar closing near its low, it's like, okay, well, do we see this trend move, this intraday trend continue, or is this what ends up being what we talked about earlier, the trading range, right? With these big moves, they oftentimes tend to turn into sideways trading ranges. And for me to be long with a scalp, with my profit target being kind of outside of the top end of that trading range, do I really want to press my luck? Not really. I'll cut it. Just thinking out loud here. So this bar becomes really important to me. If we break through and continue the trend, then I'm willing to get long again. All right, we have got 4 minutes left here on this 5-minute bar. And again, if we get a nice clean bull bar closing near its high, then I gotta be willing to get long again. You gotta remember, there's always both cases, right? There's a bull case there. You know, where's there a bear case? Pretty aggressive, right? But there's a bear case right there. Another bear case. At this exact moment, another bear case is this. Right? Hey, does this turn into a trading range? Sideways trading range. We've been seeing that a lot lately. Last couple of weeks, you guys remember? Every day for like 2 weeks, we'd see a push like this. Maybe not this aggressive, but a push kind of like this. And then it turns into a sideways trading range. There's never, you know, one decision that's so obviously the right one. There's always a bull case. There's always a bear case. Just trade the price action. Figure out what side you land on. Is the probability a little bit offset at that moment, in your opinion? All right, minute 40 out here from the close of this 5-minute bar. Again, very important close for me. I got to see how this closes. Strong bull bar. I'll buy the rollover. All right, 60 seconds here. Cameron, are you still taking on one-on-one? Yeah, you can apply. The link is in the description. You can apply. We'll see if it's a fit. See if I'm looking to take you on. But you're always talking to me, by the way. When you apply and you're getting texts, that's why I like to do voice messages a lot, because I think a lot of people assume it's like an assistant or something. Nope, you'll be talking to me. All right, 15 seconds. We are getting a pretty aggressive wick back downside here. I don't like to see that for a bull case. Ugh, that's gonna close as a doji, huh? Gotta hold off. So again here, we'll see if this turns into a trading range. Skittles, would you factor in that there is overbought RSI when going bullish? Nah, I wiped the RSI off my charts years ago. One of the best decisions I ever made. You go off RSI, you know, you end up messing up ranges, and you end up not trusting trends enough to make a bunch of money in them. I think it hurts more than it helps, to be honest with you. I agree, Chris. The best indicator is going to be price action. If you're a little bit newer, if you adopt that mentality early, it's going to be the best thing you've ever done. The best indicator is always the price action, because every indicator is just trying to present you something based on this. Just look at where the source. Every indicator is just going to the source. So, yeah, gains. This is new today that YouTube's doing now. It's actually kind of cool. You don't have to send like whatever, like super chats. I'm not. If you want to, fine, but please, like, don't feel the need to do that. That's not why I'm here at all. If you want to support the stream, just use code BIG when you buy accounts. It's a win-win. We both win. It's great. But the numbers on the subscribers' names, or on your guys' names, which I guess all you are subs since it's subscribers only mode. The more you talk, I guess, and this is a YouTube thing that they implemented. I didn't do anything. The more you talk, the more, I guess, XP you get. So it's like, they're gamifying it, which I think is fun. So I guess the more you talk, you can get to the #1 spot and then get like the #1 in the chat. I don't know. It's cool though. I like it. Going sideways here, man. Especially on the 2-minute chart. More of a trading range. A weaker, I'd say it's still a bull trend. You have lower lows, but a weaker one, certainly, than what we were seeing earlier. Something to take note of. You're getting a few bigger bear bars mixed in. Again, this is the 2-minute chart. We've been watching the 5-minute chart, but I think it's good to look at the lower time frames to get a little bit more context of what's going on in here. No, Tony, I told you guys, I'm 5'1". For me to get long here, I would need to see a pretty convincing bull bar. 3.5 minutes left here on this 5-minute chart. Madrid, this is, we're looking at MNQ right now, which is just the micro version of NQ. But I'm copy trading the micros across a bunch of different accounts. Scale horizontally with prop trading. I think that's the way to do it. All right, we got 2 minutes and 40 seconds left here on this bar. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be back before this bar closes. I want to see how this closes, but I'm going to grab some coffee. Back in a couple. We're back. I lied by half a second. We just got the rollover of the bar. However, we closed. Look here. We closed inside of this bar's wick, so I can't get long. That's still giving a little too much of a hint of maybe trading range for me to get long. I have taken 2 scalps so far here today. We had one $2,900 winner, and then I gave back $750 on kind of a weird little trade in here. I got long. What was it? I think I got long here. Yeah, here, and then cut it like in here somewhere. So we're currently up 2150 total. See what else we can get. This bar here is very interesting to me, though, if we can get a nice, clean bull close, because that starts to kind of shoot the sideways trading range hesitation I have in the foot. Yes, Tony, listen, if you have not yet, guys, take Profit Trader, which is my favorite prop. At least right now, that can always change. Always change. Whoever's the best, I'll just tell you. I like Take Profit the best for me, so there you go. The daily payouts, though, are really, really cool. And they're 40% off, no activation fee. You make money, man, you can take that money basically right away, and it's in your bank. Which is especially helpful if you're trying to bootstrap this. If you're not, trading full-time, which of course most people are not, which is totally cool. But you want to be, I would start at Take Profit, because that can probably get you to full-time the fastest if you have, a reasonable expected value per trade. Because you can take the money out right away. And then Apex is the best, though, for scaling big, which of course we want to do, but you got to go full-time, first. Daily payouts are helpful. All right, we have 2 minutes, 15 seconds left here on this 5-minute chart. Let's see what we get out of the close. Kings, how do you feel about those straight to funded props? I think they definitely get a little more out of you up front, but I mean, listen, hey, especially if you're somebody who takes payouts like relatively consistently, maybe it's worth it for you to pay up front. Tradeify does straight to funded, and I think Tradeify is going to be my next stop. Right now, I'm obviously only with Take Profit and Apex. But I think Tradeify is going to be next. Or my third. All right, 60 seconds out. Honestly, ideally this bar would close at about 845 or higher. For me to get long, it's kind of a tall order. Let's see if we can get that. 15 seconds. Come on, Bulls. Give us a little 10-point pop. And I can take a scalp. Oh, shit. It's about the opposite of what I wanted, huh? Ugly! Ugly, ugly. Gotta hold off. No trade there for me. Now, Caden, you have the choice. So you can do the eval, the test, or whatever they call it at Tradeify. Or they have a couple options for evals, a couple different plans. Or you can go straight to funded. It's your choice. But if you want straight to funded at Tradeify, you have to pay straight to funded prices. You guys see this? This is the 2-minute chart. We've gone from this pretty aggressive bull trend to now still a bull trend, but a softer bull trend. So this actually gets kind of interesting here. I really don't like drawing these aggressive levels, but I mean, you know, the bulls are going to be looking at that. I'm gonna get long here and see if we can just maintain this. I'll cut this at right on a break of 800 if we see that. And also, if we take out this wick low, of course, we've also taken out kind of any bull case hope of a trend line, and this wick low. That changes things. We haven't really seen a whole lot of again, this is still early in a softer bull trend from the more aggressive bull trend, but if we take out a wick low, that changes a lot on the move and likely turns this back into a sideways, or for the first time into a sideways channel. So that's a good trade for me to put on. I'll put that on. Risk here is pretty damn tight, a little over 20 points. Half decent little push. ATR, by the way, currently is about 24-25. They're stepping in a little bit here. Clean this up so you guys can see a little better. We know what we're looking at, right? Well, ATR is sitting right about, still about 25. Feels a little slow. Yeah, Danny, I'm just thinking about with each, well, I guess each kind of tick, but each new wick, I'm trying to think of every bear case, every bull case I possibly can, and then decide, do I need to make a decision or do I let it work? Well, Danny, then you can go, man. You can go watch someone who's yelling and screaming. That's only me sometimes. I really would, though, like to see a break of this wick high. This one here, of this bear bar. Break of the wick high of that bear bar, and I'd probably be looking to pull this. So you guys can see, if you're curious about the average true range, that with the range of each bar is on the bottom of your screen right now. The range of each individual bar is represented in the orange bars, and the ATR is in blue. The ATR, by the way, is the average range of a 5-minute bar based on the last 10 5-minute bars. So what it really does is it shows you how is volatility developing bar by bar. And it helps you figure out what kind of ask makes sense to make out of the market. Like, for example, if ATR is 23, you probably don't want to enter a scalp that you're hoping to take 5 minutes or less, or 10 minutes or less, asking for, you know, a 100-point move. Doesn't really line up with the current market environment, right? That's it. That's it. Just data being displayed. I wouldn't even really call it an indicator. Bumble, what's up, brother? Good to see you. All right, well, average here is 823. I think, yeah, I got a pretty equal average across all the accounts, right around 823. Yeah, when you're copy trading, your fill across accounts can be a little bit different, but pretty much the same across all my accounts here on this trade. Things are moving kind of slow, which is helpful in getting decent fills, but a little bit frustrating when you're scalping quick. Now again, if we really, yeah, see, things aren't looking so hot. If we snap this wick low, I gotta cut it. But I'm gonna make it earn my stop. Joe, Nico, did you go through a levels phase in your career? Previous days, highs and lows, liquidity eras? No. Well, I mean, I still see them as liquidity areas, not so much, but levels, if we're talking strictly like the high of yesterday, the low of yesterday, things like that. Yeah, I use that to this day, but no, I didn't really go through a phase where it was like, I'm only going to trade the previous day high, the previous day low, liquidity zones. That was never really me. All right, let's see if we snap up this wick low here. Yeah, I mean, we're testing it. Okay, we're coming in, I think, for a test of the 5-minute 20. So we'll cut that guy there. Here's the 5-minute 20. That has not been tested at all since the opening bell. And you guys know the probability of that occurring, right? Very high. At least once during the day. And usually you'll get, 2 or 3 bars that close beneath the level, even on big trend days. Oftentimes it'll come midday, sometimes late in the day. But again, we're in a range market with an intraday trend. But I would argue that this bull trend here is a much softer bull trend than it was this morning. 2-minute chart shows that really well. All right, we still got about 3 minutes, almost 4, left here on this 5-minute bar. I gotta say, a 5-minute 20 EMA test would not surprise me at all here. We attempted to take this low out. Bulls are trying to bounce it off this. Probably trying to turn this into a sideways trading range. Yeah, I mean, we'll see if they can. All right, we are 30 seconds out here. 25 seconds from the close here of this 5-minute bar. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking... I imagine we'll probably see this close inside of the previous bar's wicks. That doesn't help me too much. Yeah, I see some of you guys asking about the DVR feature. I'm not going to get into it too much, but there's a trade-off. It's a technicality. It's a technology thing with YouTube. When you stream with a DVR, a lot of people end up watching different portions of the stream. And honestly, like, probably at least 25 to 30% of the people think they're live, but really they're like a minute behind, and it makes for a weird experience. I get it, it's nice. It's really nice, but the way that YouTube streaming works, again, I'm not going to bore you to tears, but the way that YouTube streaming works when you don't include a DVR live, you can still watch it after the fact, 100%. But it forces everyone to be right now, and the delay is often slightly less. So you'll notice the delay right now is like 2 to 3 seconds. Which is as fast as you can possibly get on YouTube. You cannot get, a lot of people don't realize live is not ever live. When you're watching TV, man, it's like 60 seconds behind. The delay here is 2 to 3 seconds, which on the internet, man, that's about as fast as you can get, at least on YouTube. Which makes for a better chat with you guys. Okay, we got 2 minutes, 50 seconds left here. I want to put a trade on, but I got to tell you, it looks to me like we're probably in a sideways trading range, which makes it a little hard to put trades on in the middle of that range. But there, of course, still is the bull argument for a soft bull trend, which we got to think about. Yeah, I mean, look at the 2 minutes. So this is the 5 minute you're currently looking at. This is the 2 minute. Paints a little bit of a different picture, huh? There's 3 arguments going on right now, man. I mean, you could make an argument for an ascending bull channel. You could make an argument for a shorter-lived descending bear channel. You could make the argument for a sideways trading range. And this is a really good rule of thumb, by the way. I always try to remember this when I'm looking at something and I'm like a little confused. Because if we're being honest, I don't care how great you are at trading, we're always going to have situations where we're looking at the chart and we're like a little bit confused because there's too many options. And remember, that means everyone else is also a little bit confused. When you're confused, it's probably in a trading range. Really easy rule of thumb. Now the question becomes trying to define that trading range and still accepting the fact that it very well could break at any moment, even though it's a relatively low probability. But I always try to remember that. If I'm confused, trading range. Eric, so he must be in a trading range 99.9% of the time. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're not too far off. Trading ranges, you're probably in a trading range 70 to 80% of the time at least. Trends are more rare than everyone likes to think. Which is why, you know, you can't be betting on trends every day. You're going to get chopped up, or what feels like getting chopped up. Because you are kind of getting chopped up, but in reality, the only reason that's happening to you is because you're betting on huge breakouts. When big breakouts, you know, they don't come that often. Maybe 20% of the time on average, you're going to get a breakout. It's not even necessarily going to be that big. Yes, Dominic, exactly. Exactly. This is another thing. You know, this is a big focus, honestly, with the people, my one-on-one people. You gotta be as quick as you can to recognize when the market's shifting. So that's why I know this isn't exciting, this isn't sexy, whatever, but we start the stream every day by looking at this, bottom of your screen. Hey, what's the market doing? Okay, because we're trying to determine what's the overarching market context. And then we zoom in and look at the 5-minute chart and say, okay, what's the intraday market context? This morning we had intraday trend in what still is a range market. What do? We scalp with the trend. Now, if we had an intraday trend and we looked at this up top, bottom of your screen, and it was clearly a bull trend market, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7+ days of a clear bull trend, then we come back here and we say, okay, are we going to scalp with the trend? We could, but now we could also swing trade with the trend and look for big trades, big P&Ls on a single trade. Or, you know, we say, yeah, I'm not really looking to swing this. Maybe I'll scalp it. But if you decide to scalp a trend inside of an overarching trend market, you got to be willing to get back in. So a lot of people, they'll scalp once and then they're scared to keep getting back in, which is why a lot of people would probably be better off swing trading that scenario. But if you're someone who's like, I can take, you know, I might take 5-10 scalps in this little intraday trend, then feel free to scalp it, man. Yeah, Chris. Unreasonable based on the context is very important. A lot of people would say, you know, a 5-6% move out of the NASDAQ to the upside is unreasonable, so I'm going to short because we're up 3%. No, that's not what I mean. Don't expect something unreasonable based on what the market has been doing. Markets have inertia. They're resistant to change. So when we're in a range market, what would be unreasonable? Getting long for a 500-point move higher. That would be unreasonable, right? If we're in a trend market, a really, really strong bull trend market, and you buy a pullback, or sorry, let's say you short a pullback, what would be unreasonable? To think that that pullback's going to drop 250 points. That'd be kind of unreasonable, right? Market hasn't done that. There's a lot of buyers, clearly, right? I'm not saying right now. I'm just saying in that environment, if we were presented with that, that would be an unreasonable trade. Don't do unreasonable things, or don't look for unreasonable things. But right now, man, we are in a sideways trading range. And we're getting pretty much every bar closing inside of the previous bar, at least including the wicks, right? When the market's doing exactly what it's been doing the last 5 bars, including this bar, it's really hard to make good decisions. Now, like we talked about probably back here, which has now been 15 minutes, I would not be surprised at all if we need to come in and test this 5-minute 20, just because if you look, the 5-minute 20 EMA, this was the opening candle today. We have not tapped it even once, and that doesn't happen that often. You know, it's been almost 2.5 hours since the market opened, and getting a day where you don't ever tap the EMA on a 5-minute chart, the 20 EMA, that's really, really uncommon. Very uncommon. So I think we're going to need to see a tap of that at least once today, with probably 2 or 3 bars closing beneath it at a bare minimum. Vinny, what's your trade copier? I am using the Affordable Indicators copier. All right, I'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back. We have about 55 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. And still, man, inside of all these wicks, this is a brutal sideways trading range. The 2-minute chart shows this really, really well. Look at this. So, you know, it makes you think. Straight up buy low, sell high isn't a horrible idea right now. Now, the thing that I think most people, but myself included, the hardest part about just straight up buy low, sell high, or sell high, buy back lower, sideways range scalping, the hardest part of it is figuring out how to manage your risk, because there's nothing really above or below. In this case, there's, you know, this above. There's really nothing below. I mean, you could cut it here, but a range is never going to be perfect, right? You kind of want to give it 5 or 10 points of extra room. So it's kind of tough to structure a trade, but you can pull it off. One second. Hold. All right. Dominic says, this looks like a bull flag. No, yeah, I'd agree with you. It looks like a bull flag. The problem with trading patterns like that, though, is it ignores completely market context. Now, in a bull trend market, I'd say, yep, bull flag. However, it's never that obvious. Probability is going to be, you know, 60, anywhere between 55 and 70% probability at best here in futures, because they're efficiently priced. There's always a bull case, there's always a bear case. So being that we're not in an aggressive bull trend market overall, I think just trading a bull flag blind is kind of silly, because it does ignore that context. Not to say we can't go higher, man. I kind of hope we do, so that we can take some trades and re-enter that bull trend. But, you know, I think it's kind of an unreasonable expectation to just assume we're going higher just because it's a bull flag. You know, patterns are important, but what I've realized over the past couple of years that I think is totally lacking, and I didn't really see this gap at first, but I think I think the problem with online trading education is that it teaches what's exciting. It teaches what's easy to click. It teaches what feels easy, which is the patterns. The patterns sell because it's like, okay, I take this, I recognize it in real time, and I make money. All right, but the patterns aren't enough. The patterns plus the context is enough. You probably don't want to trade a bull flag in a range market with a long side, right? But maybe you could. You probably could make money trading bull flags in a trend market, 100%. So different decision making based on the context of the market. So you can't ignore that, right? Now, what do I mean by context? Again, I'll try to be better at explaining this. Markets have inertia, right? Bottom of your screen, that's the daily chart showing all the New York sessions. Each candle is one New York session. You look from June pretty much to late June, even May, a lot of kind of a range market, right? Bull flags would not have worked very well. But then if you look at you know, a 7-day bull trend market, bull flags would make a ton of money, most likely. So it's not just the pattern, it's the pattern plus the overarching market inertia, context, environment, right? You have to have both. Have to. Non-negotiable. And you know what? I guess I just don't really get maybe, why that's been left out of so much online education. I think mostly it's because either it's not understood like that, or it's not exciting enough. It's too boring. But the reality is, I think that assumes that all you guys are, as the viewer, are too dumb to understand setup plus context. Setup on its own is complicated enough. I disagree with that completely. Setups are so simple. I like to just give everybody everything that I know. Brush up over the years along the way. If I say, you know what, I prefer to do it this way now rather than this way, I'll just correct myself, move on, and assume everybody can follow everything that I'm saying. And if I'm saying something and you're confused, it forces you to just try to figure it out as quickly as possible. I'll just give you all the information I possibly can and force you to figure it out, and most of you will probably figure it out pretty damn quick because it's not that complicated, it's just fucking hard. It takes focus, it takes discipline, right? But withholding information, man, oh god, most frustrating thing on the internet. Man, this 2-minute chart is just brutal. The sideways action, it's getting tighter, tighter, tighter. This is a wedge. This is a wedge. This is what I see here. Just draw it the most obvious way you think most people would draw it. Probably like that. Split the difference here. Yeah, it's a wedge. It's going to break. Which way is it going to break? That's about 50-50, to be honest with you. Straddling the 20 EMA here on the 2, less relevant. We still do, by the way, this is a 5-minute chart. Have that 20 EMA on the 5. It's going to see a test, I think. If we went the whole day today and never saw a test, I would be absolutely shocked, because that's a very, very low probability of happening. That does not happen often. Of course, it's possible, but I would be shocked. All right, testing the top end of that wedge. Bernard, hey Nico, how'd you feel when big chunk of money hit your bank account? Just got payout from 20 Apex accounts. Yeah, you know, it's probably gonna sound like a cliche answer, but this is the reality. The feeling is the best when it feels like the biggest change to your life. So like, the numbers being bigger as you get more and more used to bigger numbers, the feeling like you get desensitized. The richest probably I ever felt on like one deposit was the first time ever that I had over a $10,000 deposit hit my account. I was probably, let me think, I was probably 19 or 20 when one deposit was 5 figures. That was like, again, I mean, so honestly, enjoy it, because everyone thinks like, okay, like, you know, I got that big payout, or I got that big deposit. Now imagine what, you know, 50 or 100,000 is gonna feel like. Enjoy that, because that is the biggest difference. You're going from, it's the biggest, I guess, jump, like percentage wise, and that's going to give you like the best feeling. Now when you go to 20, 30, 50, 100 plus, as far as like deposits, you're already desensitized, so it doesn't feel as good. So enjoy that first big one. The first big, again, big, like $10,000, $11,000 is huge. At least it was for me at 19 or 20. When that hits your bank account, man, it feels really good. But then the longer you go, even with much bigger numbers, it's not that big. It's like, okay, like, you know, it feels good. Doesn't feel bad, of course, but enjoy that first one, seriously, because it doesn't, that feeling, it cannot be replicated. This is a crazy little wedge. Now, if we do break downside on the 2-minute chart, top right of your screen, then we have to watch the 20 EMA on the 5. Again, we haven't seen it tested all day, which is very rare, especially as of late. Usually, at least as of late, we've been seeing that thing get tested all day up here, right? Have not tested it once today. This price action in hindsight has been very, very tight. Oh, back into the wedge, man. This is the 2 minute? 2 minutes shows this wedge by far the best right now. This is just a brutal wedge right now. I'm going to leave the lines drawn as they are. Doesn't have to be perfect. Again, don't overthink the levels. Even if you are trading the wedge, you're more trading a range than you are the actual line. Everyone's going to draw it a little bit differently. Yeah, this is a crazy little range. Well, I guess, I'll tell you what, I guess I'll wait for this to break. Now's probably good a time as any to go hit lunch, huh? All right, guys, listen, hey, if you have not taken advantage, it's on screen. Take Profit Trader, probably only for a few more days, is 40% off, no activation fee. This is the best deal I have personally ever seen them run. Of course, use code BIG to get that deal. But it'll likely go back down to 30% off. So 40% off, no activation fee. I think best deal on the market right now. Take Profit is great to bootstrap this. If you're trying to go full time as soon as you can, you probably want daily payouts, right? Apex is fantastic for scaling big, but you need money in the account, okay? Especially when in the early days, you need the money hitting as often as possible to keep you afloat while you continue to try to scale. That can help you go full time as soon as possible, assuming you have, you know, somewhat of an edge. So I would start at Take Profit and then scale with Apex. Take Profit lets you go to 5 accounts. Apex lets you go to 20. Once you've pretty much maxed those two out, then it's on to the other ones, right? Wherever you want to go from there. For me, I think I'm going to be hitting Tradeify next as my third stop, as we talked about earlier. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna let this thing break, and I'll keep trading probably this afternoon. But right now, it's time to be patient and let this price action snap. Maybe we'll see a test of the 5-minute 20 EMA, and then once we do that, then we can kind of trade freely again. But right now, man, this wedge is brutal. All right, guys, be patient. Let it come to you, and when it comes to you, execute your edge. Don't be scared. Okay, the plan is in place for a reason. And hey, if it happens, you lose 6 in a row. It's part of the game. You're also going to win 12 in a row sometimes. All right, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow morning.